Hello everyone and welcome back to Riverview metropolitan area. This is a sort of realistic North American themed region we're developing here in City Skylines 2, and things are generally going pretty well, although one of my dams has burned down. What? You couldn't find any water? Anyways, like I was saying, things are generally going pretty well. We've got massive demand for just about everything. And the amount of demand is also causing a few issues in the city. As we can see, rents and mortgages are through the roof due to too much demand. The current housing stock simply can't meet the demand. And additionally, commercial establishments are complaining about not having enough customers because there's not enough housing stock to move new people into. So I've probably overzoned commercial a bit, and yeah, I don't know, the demand is just always there. So my City Skylines 1 brain tells me that if there's demand, I should zone it, but that might not necessarily be true in City Skylines 2. You can definitely cause some structural issues in your city if you just zone whatever there's demand for. Anyways, a quick recap of what we built in the previous episode. We built this row house district here in the city of East Riverview, and I'm still looking forward to suggestions from you guys on what it should be named and what the backstory for this very unique area is. So if you haven't yet commented, feel free to do so on this video. I'll make sure to check both videos for comments so that we can name this area and provide a good story. We also did a lot of expansion in the northeastern part of the region. We built the village of Chestnut, which is probably more a small town than a village. And there's so many opportunities to get your massive truck filled up with gas here in Chestnut that it's paradise on earth for some of my American inhabitants. It has to be. But yeah, a pretty cozy small commercial strip. We built a bunch of farming in between all the nice forests here. Some small villages as well, small settlements, and an incineration plant. And I'm happy to announce that even though it didn't really perform in the previous video where we actually built this, we are actually producing a sizable amount of electricity now, which is pretty cool. For today's episode, we are going to start out by revamping Eastport and the Port of Riverview, which are the two main ports of the region and the two main industrial centers. The main revamp is just gonna be making it a little more nice and pretty, while also upgrading all these roads to key roads so that it actually looks like a port. I've got a fancy technique that I've got an idea basically that I hope is gonna make this a lot easier that I haven't really thought of before, which I'm gonna try out in this video. So fingers crossed it actually works, or this is gonna turn real awkward real fast. When we're done with the ports, or not done based on how awkward it gets, we're gonna have to subdue some of this demand. So we're either gonna expand the region, or we're gonna upzone a bunch of stuff and make the cities of Riverview and East Riverview even denser. And we might actually just do both. Oh, and before I start, if you enjoy my content, please consider hitting the like button. It really helps out. And consider subscribing as well. More than 80% of my viewers aren't subscribed, so maybe you've just forgotten to. Thanks in advance. Okay, so port revamps. The big thing, as I said, is going to turn these roads into keys, because currently this is the lazy man's option, obviously, and it doesn't look all that great up close. I think when we zoom out and we have an overview like this, I'll just go for the cinematic camera, then things are looking pretty sweet. If I have to be nice to myself, I would say that this could look like something from Google Maps maybe, but as we zoom in closer, then it's obvious that I kind of took the cheap way out. I'm gonna fix that, and my idea is to basically just elevate the whole thing and then try to work without all the water, because what's making it hard for me to create these keys, at least, is that the water is a bit of a pain to actually work with. Now this was the same in City Skylines 1, but it's very much the case here in City Skylines 2 as well. So I'm hopeful that if I, let's see, grab a bunch of extra land here, then I can grab the shift terrain tool and we can just lower a bit. Maybe this is actually fine. And then we'll do the whole thing without the interference of the annoying water. Hopefully, at least. Then I'm going to delete the roads, and I'm hopeful that if I employ a wider road as well, it's gonna make it a little easier for me to actually make these key walls, or these fake key walls, which are just roads basically. So we'll try with, I think, this 4-lane road, because we can always upgrade that to the alley. Because I do feel like the alley road here is the best. But actually, we are just gonna try and be cheeky and see if we can avoid having to do that at all. I'm just gonna give it a go, but I think it's gonna be easier with the bigger road. Yeah, it probably is. Although it's working pretty well. I might just give this a go actually. So in a weird way, it actually did end up turning pretty awkward, but only because it was easier than I thought. I was pretty certain that it would be too hard to really align with the terraforming so that these alleyways would look good. And I mean, this one's not perfect. I should really fix that. But it actually was just easier than I imagined for some reason, and I'm not really sure why, but I guess it's a good thing, because it should make doing the very same for the Port of Riverview much easier as well. And of course, as I say that, I actually end up messing this up so that I can't. Oh, come on. Come on. In water. Yes, 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 please. Is that gonna work? Perfect. I'm never fixing anything again while I'm trying to sound smart and explain stuff. It's not gonna work out. Now, of course, we're gonna do the very same for the Port of Riverview. Might be a bit more complex due to the overall shape of it. But the first thing I want to do before I get busy with some terraforming is just removing all this stuff. I think it's starting to look a little odd and out of place, and it's not very pretty near downtown, so we'll find something else to use this space for. We'll repurpose it. Might just build like a park initially or something like that, just to start out. For now though, I don't want it to be dirty industry. So before I start with the Port of Riverview, I'm just gonna streamline the design a bit, because this area here always looked super odd to me. So if we just remove these assets and parking lots, then maybe just going like something like this is going to look a little better than the odd angle we had before. And with this change, I should be ready to get started. Oh, yeah. I didn't intend to do this, but yeah, I guess yeah. Whatever. Let's let's continue. So I've been happily building ports while a massive fire is tearing through a medium and high density area of downtown. What is even going on? So apparently there is a gridlock alongside Dean Street here, which made sure that vehicles from the fire station weren't able to reach this place. So there's our first fire engine. But wow. That is pretty scary. It makes me wonder if I should just start revamping the road layout altogether. Because I mean, in an event like that, the city could burn down. My only way of fixing it was to delete this road and rebuild it, and then the fire engine could actually get there. So, yikes! I'll have to rezone this. Anyways. The port of Riverview is now done, and things are looking much better. I've also unlocked this dairy house a while back due to the amount of industry I have, so I'm thinking of placing it in the port here somewhere, just to have a bit more of a special building. And I'm probably gonna delete a bunch of stuff here with all the smokestacks and seeing if I can squeeze it in. I'm gonna have to delete some more stuff. That's okay. It's not very pretty, this industry. And I've got some stuff here. And I think we're gonna go disable snapping and then seeing if we can just freeform align it perfectly near the corner here. As such, oh yeah, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. And then if we can just flank it by a road. That leaves us a bit of space for industrial zoning as well, so we can get some extra stuff to pop up. What's this guy crying about? Pretty good. 2% industrial efficiency citywide, as well as 2% export profits. That's pretty nice. And another fire. Things are going great. Okay, so before the entire city burns down due to my incompetence, let's start upzoning so we can start satisfying some of this demand and trying to fix this not enough customers issue. I'm assuming that the population on this main island is just not enough to actually sustain the amount of commercial developments that I've been zoning for the past 2 episodes. So one step is basically to just rezone some of this into medium density residential developments instead. So I am going to do that throughout a couple of places. Well, this is a kind of cool building, not gonna touch that one. This one's a little funky. Let's upzone that as well. It's kind of cool. These guys are crying. Go away, upzone, upzone. And another way to probably start fixing this issue is to upzone some of our inner city low density neighborhoods into row housing instead. So we've got Victoria Peak here, which is a fantastic neighborhood because you've got old, beautiful single family houses, and they're right next to, you know, all the amenities, services, and entertainment stuff you'd ever want, because you're right next to downtown. You're right next to Madison Street, which has a ton of stuff to offer as well. But it's probably time Victoria Peak is upzoned to row housing due to the location. So we're gonna do that, and we're just gonna have a look and see. We've got about 600 households currently, and a population of 1100. So I'm expecting that to rise quite a bit following our upzoning, as the row houses do contain quite a few more households. I think they have like 3 to 5 households, most of them, which is quite a significant change compared to the single household of the low density zoning. Especially considering that the row houses are only one zoning tile wide, so we'll also just see more of them. We've also got a few houses in here that we are upzoning. I'm gonna hold off on upzoning Bedford Gardens and Orchard Peak just yet. I've already been in here with the density zoning tool, as you can probably see, and I quite like that we've got kind of like a tiered step of all types of densities, starting out here with the single family, moving to row house, some medium density, and then slowly getting into the really high density stuff in downtown Riverview. Something I do want to do though is get a few more office skyscrapers in downtown as well. There's a pretty large block here, which is, what is this, 6x6, which should enable a pretty large skyscraper. Yeah, that's fine. And it's gonna be really cool to see all the development start here in Victoria Peak and see how it's gonna change the amount of households. So it's already gone from what, 600 to about 1,000, and it's still rising. So quite a population bump we'll be seeing from this change. So we've got our new office skyscraper, Ash Train Records, at 53 Pacific Street. And it is glorious, and it's officially the new tallest building in the city, which is pretty nice. I want to add some high density housing, some additional one, so I think we're gonna see if we can grow a really big one here by going 6x6 on this corner lot here, where we've already got a high building. See if we can get some growth. Although I don't actually have the demand, I spend all of it. Well, never mind, we can always, I meant office, office, right? Yeah, high density office, let's go. And while this bad boy is growing, I've unlocked another signature building. This time it's in the residential category, and it's due to the amount of North American themed row housing I have. So this Vista building will increase well-being within 1.3 kilometers by 5, which is pretty substantial. And it's a pretty fancy looking building, so I'm gonna continue the theme of having luxury apartments facing the Central Park here, Riverview Central Gardens. And let's see if I can find a good spot without destroying anything. I've got some repetition here. I can see that I need to get fixed up. Oh, I've got just a spot in here between these buildings. Yoink. Very nice. Gonna try and fix some of the repetition here by, yeah, we'll try a bit of mixed housing to see if that can kind of break it up. And then I'm gonna see if I can just squeeze in some low rent housing, and I'm I'm hopeful it's still gonna look pretty. Can we like take a moment just to appreciate how nice Crestwood is looking? It's a little close to the interstate, which is unfortunate, but otherwise it's a very, very bushy, foresty suburb with some really nice looking houses. Some people, you know, they've probably bought a bit over capacity. Let's see. Amber has chosen to buy a 4-bedroom house on her own. Having trouble paying rent or mortgage. I see it as the same thing. Pretty crazy. Anyways, we've got a lot of demand for more job creation. And I was wondering why it switched so much, because I didn't feel I upzoned that much residential, but I actually did. And if we go check, let's see, if we check our statistics, this is my unemployment graph for the last 6 months, which is really, really bad. I mean, we've gone from what, 1,600 unemployed residents to about 5,000 now. So we're definitely going to need to create like a massive new area just offering a ton of jobs. And instead of continuing to upzone, I'm gonna sprawl out a bit. So think I'm going to buy a few tiles here south of East Riverview, and then we're gonna turn this area here into like a big sprawling suburban industrial district with some low density office buildings mixed in as well. And since I've got 6,000 progression points, I'm thinking of I'm gonna buy the server farm because it's probably gonna fit in pretty well in this area. Maybe the post sorting facility as well. Yep. And we've got 2 big assets here that's probably gonna help with the overall design. But the first thing I'm gonna do, of course, is lay out the road network. And my idea here is to use the highways, the national roads basically, to be the arterials, and then I'm going to use the smaller roads as connectors. It's not supposed to be a walkable or a nice area in any ways. It's just a job center full of industry and offices. And just as we've hit play and a bunch of development has started moving into the new district of Sterling, we've unlocked a new signature building, Principes. The companies working in this modern office building not only make sure that justice is served, but their efficiency actually helps to reduce the crime rate in the neighborhood. So let's place this building first, and then I'll go through what we've done here, because it's become quite a huge area. So it's of course in our office signature buildings tab. 1% university graduation chance, -2% crime rate, +5 well-being. I mean, this is not the best location for it, for all the benefits, but it's probably a good fit for the overall character of this area. And we've got a spot here that's sort of open, so I think I'm going to see if I can just squeeze it in here. Let's take a look. And it really looks pretty cool, and it looks to be a really good fit for this area. We might just add a tad more parking, of course. So let's see if we can just... Why won't disconnect? Oh, it will. Okay. And then we'll just do a little bend as such, and we'll add some parking over here. Just this one, I think. Then we'll add a few of our pavement paths, because that is the only detailing option we have, so better use it. Alright, so a little tour of Sterling. I wanted to get creative with some of the road grids here, and I know I said I didn't want this area to be nice, and while it's, you know, strictly there's no residential here, it's only job offerings, it actually turned out alright, I think. I'm using these paths because, as I said, it's you know, it's the lowest form of detailing, but it's the only form of detailing that I've got available for now, so I try to use them as much as I can. I think as this industry starts filling in, I'm gonna try and weed out some of the industry assets with smokestacks by just deleting them and hoping that I'll get something else to grow, because I don't want a ton of smokestacks out here, preferably. I'm also hoping to not see too much repetition for the office buildings, but if there is a bit of repetition, it's okay in this area. You probably saw me relocating the Riverview bus depot from downtown Riverview all the way out here, and then conducting a bit of an upgrade. I've had some issues with not having enough buses when some are in for maintenance, so now I figured I'd move it out here where I think it's a better spot, and just add 2 extra garages to really bump the capacity, so we can have 55 buses at the same time in use, which should be sufficient, at least for the foreseeable future. Also made sure to build a taxi depot out here and upgrade it. And I also purchased this dispatch center, so that I don't have to build dedicated taxi stands, but taxis can just pick up people, which I think is more realistic. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I also unlocked the telecom tower and just placed these 2. I mean, I don't know how much use they are being placed out here, but I think it looks pretty cool, and it makes sense next to this post-sorting facility. I don't know, it looks nice. That's all I can say. Server farm is a massive asset, and it looks really cool here in the center. So I'm happy to see that as of now we're looking at around 600 new jobs, which is not enough at all, but we'll see. I'm just gonna hit play and let this area grow for a bit, and then I'll check in and see how we're looking. And unfortunately, these massive assets here, they don't actually employ all that many people. I mean, 20 employees for the post-sorting facility, which is such a huge structure, seems a bit odd maybe. And for the server farm, it's 10. And the result is that Sterling employs, you know, it offers around 1100 jobs, and I even added in a few more as I got desperate. But I mean, this is this is not enough at all. If we check our unemployment statistics, we can of course see a drop of about 1,000, but we're still very, very high. You know, more than 10% of the population is unemployed, and a large part of this population isn't in the, you know, working age anyways. So it's not great. What I'm gonna do quickly is move across the interstate here and then turn this entire area into an industrial area as well. So we're just gonna do that a little quick and dirty. So the job count is still growing slowly but surely for both areas as the developments start upgrading and offers more jobs. And we're approaching 2,400. We might end up somewhere in the 2,500 to 3,000 job range, which I think is really nice. And equally as important, I really like the look of these two areas. It's absolutely huge as we zoom out, but usually office and industrial parks are pretty huge, especially in the US. They don't really represent optimal land use, and I made sure that that's not the case here either. But I also wanted to leave a lot of forest untouched, because that is a theme here in Riverview. There is a ton of forest everywhere, which it helps promote the city as a recreational hotspot, of course, with the mountains and all the hiking as well. It's actually turning out to be a pretty nice place to live. So the cool thing with the additions of these areas is, of course, that it has really helped with my unemployment numbers. We're sitting below 3,000 now, and I'm hoping to, of course, see this continue to fall. But we've also started to rag in a good chunk of taxes on these extra developments. If we check our taxes here, we can see that commercial and residential are still by far the two biggest incomes, but industry and office is now starting to count for about 600,000 credits in total, which is very nice. And since I'm trying to actually make the city better, I'm going to use some of that tax revenue to try and fix one of the single major issues still kind of plaguing the city and the Riverview metropolitan area in total, and that's the high crime rate. So a long time back, I actually cut police funding. That was kind of the popular movement at the time, at least on Twitter. So I'm going to bump that up quite a bit, maybe by 110, which is of course it's gonna eat into our profits, but it should provide for better coverage and more patrols. Likewise, I've gone and made sure that some of these outer communities are actually gated communities now, which should reduce crime in the area and make it a little more manageable for the East Riverview police station to also handle these areas. And yeah, one of you guys suggested the gated community policy. I'd completely forgotten about it, to be honest. So as always, you guys deliver and I try to deliver in my own way. And this is one of the coolest overviews we can get, as we can see each patrol car out on duty and see kind of the coverage. And I'm starting to feel that Chestnut out here is not gonna be savable by just enabling the gated community policy. Instead, I will probably have to actually build a local police department out here. So I'm just gonna do that as one of the last things of this episode. Just need to find a good spot. We've got a bit of park area here where it might be a decent fit. I'm going to just place it here, and yeah, I think that's fine. I'm not gonna do any more. That should help with some of the crime in these rural communities. And that actually wraps up this episode of Riverview. I am pretty pleased with what we've achieved today. We have been a bit all over, but that's kind of the theme for all of these episodes, I suppose. I'm really liking how Eastport has gotten a little refurbishment. Looks much better now with these quay walls. And of course the same is the case here in the port of Riverview as well. Looks much better, and I'm happy I fixed this odd angle. Not really sure what I was thinking back then. I've also upgraded the rail yard with these maintenance facilities so that it looks much better. I added here alongside Main Street. We've got the zoning here is only 2 tiles deep due to the massive size of the rail yard. So I've just added these row houses throughout, and I actually think it looks really good. For Riverview itself, we've done a ton of densification, turning this area into a row house district, and we might add a few more roads to just kind of densify it. But currently it remains as one of the, in my opinion, nicest row house districts of the city, with all this forestry. And we've got, you know, we've actually got some really nice pathways in here in deep forest. Pretty cool. We also added some extra high-rises to Riverview, and this office building has leveled up once or twice. It's not pretty, but it doesn't have to be. And it's clearly the tallest building in the city currently, so things are really taking shape. That's the same here for this major avenue. I don't even remember the name, but lots of dense stuff going on here as well, and I'm really happy how this is turning out. If we move to the southern portion of East Riverview, we of course built Barlow Ridge and Sterling, these 2 rather big industrial and office districts. They provide jobs and that's it, but they also have some of our internet infrastructure, mail sorting facility, as well as the bus depot and the taxi depot of the city. And we got a chance to have fun with the road tooling of this game and make some super wacky interchanges and other stuff. And I don't know how realistic it is, but to be honest, when I fly around Google Maps, which is my favorite pastime activity, that's how exciting I am, looking at US cities or cities in general around the globe, what becomes clear is that sometimes city planners, they just make odd choices and they don't make optimal choices at all. So this is one of those odd choices, and I have a few more throughout the city, so I'm happy I can use that excuse. But anyways, this is turning into a ramble, so to wrap it up, I'm of course gonna bring you some hopefully nice cinematics, and thank you so much for watching and all the support lately. I'm so privileged to be in this position. I can't stress that enough. I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.